It's a very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Now tonight we'll find out about data that people have been claiming to be losing. We also caught up with a group of UJ students who just won a hackathon. Later in the program we will visit Kenya, where we'll find out about games developed over there. Our discussion with David Barnard from TechSoup is on open data. Remember that we are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, media reports have been alleging that data disappears from people's mobile devices. This has led to an investigation by the National Consumer Commission. It's starting by checking clauses in the contracts we sign when we're getting new mobile devices.
The National Consumer Commission has set the record straight about its investigation on the so-called disappearance of data. They say that all they're doing at this point is to look into the terms and condition clauses on cell phone contracts.
We are not conducting an investigation into the disappearance of data.
The story was sparked by media reports alleging that the NCC is conducting an investigation on data disappearance. Tweeps have been lashing out on the microblogging social media, most of which are complaining about the disappearance of data and airtime. Tando Moore says,
I stopped using Vodacom when I realized a trend of airtime and data disappearance from my phone.
Karabo NYC says,
MTN and Vodacom are always blaming this disappearance of data to some app running in a background that doesn't exist.
What can somehow relate to the disappearance of data in as far as our investigation is concerned is the expiry of data. Expiry of data is not a separate parallel investigation that we're running. It is covered under the current investigation.
Meanwhile, the country's largest network service provider, Vodacom, says they are seeing a high number of smartphone purchases.
We've seen a massive uptake of smartphones on the Vodacom network. A lot of the smartphones are LTE. And what that means, long-term evolution technology is just faster. So what guys are used to is, I'll pay, let's say hypothetically 20 Rand for X meg, but now when you've got an LTE phone, because it's faster. You remember the old experience of buffering? That's when a video is loading, but with LTE phones, it just means it's instantaneous, it's a faster network, so it consumes data a lot faster, and because people are enjoying that experience, they don't realize that they are consuming a lot more data.
This left some tweeps pleading with the network providers to intervene on their behalf, such as this one here.
Even though hacking is often associated with wrongdoing, it's not always a bad word. Hackathons are events that take place all over the world. They help young developers test their skills against others and come up with new methods of doing things. This week we caught up with University of Johannesburg students who have won a few hackathons. These students are with the University of Johannesburg's Academy for Computer Science and Software Engineering. Recently, they walked away winners at the Discovery Grad Hack Hackathon. It was for an idea of a smartphone application that can bust people that cheat medical aid by gaining points for swiping at gym, even if they do no workouts there.
The idea came up that if the work machines themselves can actually track the data on your workout, so your calories burnt, how much you've run, including even weight machines, like how many reps you did of how much weight. You could then take your phone, swipe your phone over the machine, and that machine would capture the data onto your phone and send that to Discovery.
So over 2 days, they were locked in this room, coming up with the idea and then building a system to make it work. They then used industry standard technology and created a native Android application. UJ has won several hackathons in the past, and the students say it's something they enjoy doing.
It just seemed like a lot of fun. It seemed like a way to prove yourself, test out your skills against people from other universities.
With this one done, it's preparation for the next hackathon for these students. Like we've been doing in the last few weeks, so this week is no different. We're still profiling women who are doing incredible things in the technology space. We've decided to look in our backyard and show you women behind our show network. Let's take a look.
Hello, I am Lebogang Sejake and I'm a producer for Network.
My name is Nettie Singana and I'm a multimedia producer at SABC Digital News.
Hi, my name is Nokias and I'm a producer for Network.
This is a team that puts together our tech show. On a typical day, you'll find us doing research, running around in between field and the studio just to make sure that you are getting the most critical tech news from Africa.
What we basically do is to make the news more interesting, bring some color into the stories. We create videos, infographics, and on an occasional basis, I go to network and present a section in this show.
What we basically do, I'd go out, find stories, go on shoots, and we pitch stories first before we go on shoots.
I also find and pitch stories and go on a shoot and then package that story.
We sometimes get to test out new gadgets as well. We have to keep on reading and testing new technologies in order to understand how tech is rapidly changing in the African continent.
Right now, I'm also testing the boundaries of television by shooting some of this video with a cell phone for broadcast.
New technologies are definitely changing the way we bring stories to you.
Cheating websites, Ashley Madsen, CEO, stepped down, and a young techie guy in India invented a hands-free mouse. This is what's been happening in the rest of the technology space in the last week.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the SABC News Tech Wrap. I am Nebokansi Jake.
And I'm Matiba Sibanyoni. We are coming to you from the Digital Innovation Zone here in Braamfontein. Now, moving on to social media, Facebook Inc. is testing a personal digital assistant called M on its messenger service.
The planned service will be able to answer questions with live human help and perform tasks such as buying gifts online and booking restaurants. M is powered by artificial intelligence that's trained and supervised by people. M is said to be a hybrid product by a team of Facebook employees with consumer service backgrounds called M trainers, who can also make travel arrangements and appointments.
Ever since its launch in July 29th, Windows 10 has spread to over 75 million devices globally.
The American software giant says that Windows 10 is powering more than 90,000 different computers and tablet models, including some that date back to the year 2007. The company also added that it is determined on seeing the Windows 10 operating system aimed at computers, mobiles, and other devices running on 1 billion gadgets.
Now, some inspirational news. In India, a 16-year-old teenager has developed a hands-free mouse for the physically challenged people.
I visited a local home for the disabled to give them food. And when I went there, I was very much saddened to see that many people were bright and intelligent and good enough to use computers. They had the talent and the ability, but they were not able to because no devices exist for them to use them, and thus they could not get jobs. This device is extremely cost effective. I have developed it for only $20, and I really hope that this will help all those bright and amazing disabled people to use their talent and be able to use computers and find jobs.
Now moving over to the USA. There's suspicion that drones are being used to smuggle illegal imports into maximum security state prisons in Maryland.
The suspicion comes after 2 suspects were arrested Saturday evening after being spotted in a vehicle on a property near to the Western Correctional Institution and the North Branch Correctional Institution.
This is the first case in Maryland where a drone is suspected in a contraband delivery plot. But we have been ahead of this issue, recognizing it as an emerging problem, and have been working on intelligence, technology, and legislative solutions with our law enforcement partners.
Cheating website Ashley Madsen's CEO Noel Bitterman called it quits after the website's data hack. This may come as a surprise, as Bitterman was a big defender of infidelity.
Well, infidelity does save marriages. You know, I think people have affairs because they don't want a divorce.
Bitterman said these words during an interview with Reuters in 2013.
Well, that's it from us this week. I'm Matiba Sibanyoni.
And I am Nebokansi Jake. And from us, it's ciao.
Thank you, girls. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. After the break, we will chat to David Barnard from TechSoup Global about open data. Stay with us.
She isn't saying no to sex because she's playing hard to get.
Because she's leading you on? Because she wants you to dominate her?
She is saying no because she does not want to have sex.
Sex with the elderly that aren't strong enough to fight you off, that is rape.
Sex with a child is rape.
And the penalty for rape is severe.
And nobody,
not a friend, not a family member,
not a single member from your community
will think that what you did was right, acceptable or tolerable.
They will be happy to see justice done.
Start listening to the words of our women.
Start respecting that no means no.
Rape is rape. Let us bring an end to it together.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, a young IT developer in Kenya is set on tapping into the lucrative global gaming industry. But coming from a society that sees careers mostly in medicine, law and accounting, it's not been easy for Andrew Kagia and his fellow developers.
Meet some of Africa's gaming action heroes, South Africa's Shaka Zulu, the Egyptian pharaoh, and Ananse, a popular legend in parts of West Africa. And now a new action-filled game has been developed in Nairobi, Kenya by a tech company called Black Division Games. The game goes by the title of Nairobi X, and it is Africa's first locally developed 3D, first shooter and multiplayer video game.
It's time we started consuming our own products. I mean, how long will we play foreign games? I think it's time we play local games. Convincing people to sponsor the game was not an easy task. I mean, there are so many people who approached, getting them to see that this is something that could potentially even work for them.
The game is set in Nairobi, where players assume the role of an action hero named Otero. His role is to defend his city from an alien invasion. Nairobi X is available on smartphones, is relatively affordable to download, and the gaming design is of a world-class quality.
It's international standard quality, and that is something we can celebrate and say it's good, not just from Africa, but international quality from Africa, from Kenya, from Nairobi.
Gaming is a growing global industry worth tens of billions of rands, and it is increasingly finding a foothold here on our continent. This in part to the affordability of smartphones. In Kenya, for example, the smartphone user base has been growing at a fast rate. This is prompting more device manufacturers to set up shop there. So the next time an African-produced video game hits the market, there's a big chance it will have been developed in Nairobi.
There's a lot of brilliance that's coming out of Africa. Some say the future of our cities lies in open data. This is information that is available on the internet and can be freely available to be shared and reused. Joining us in the studio is David Barnard. He is the Vice President for Africa at TechSoup Global. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network, David.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, let's start by unpacking what open data actually is.
Very simply, it is accessible public data. Data that is collected by, call it public institutions, by government, using taxpayers' money and public funding. And government, as well as the private sector, etc., but government specifically, sits on vast volumes of data, often underutilized, not properly analyzed, and therefore, in an era that we're all trying to find solutions for the many complex problems that we face with, people that actually can help in finding those solutions don't have access to that data. And that's why you have this global movement now towards encouraging governments to open up their vast data sets that collectively we can start looking at finding problems to our many common problems.
You're saying governments don't make this public. So where does this data actually sit?
It sits, if you think about government in its totality, local government, provincial government, national government, each of them and all the spheres of government collect information. You have formal interventions, be it it's the census data, or you can just think about across government across the various arms of government, on a daily basis, vast volumes of information are generated, be it in terms of reporting in government, be it in terms of, say, specific service delivery items, how many houses are we building or not, how many medicines are we distributing or not. They're collecting that information, but the sum total of that is that we don't necessarily see a significant increase in finding solutions or coming up with better solutions. So the whole thing with open data is very simple. On the one side, it allows people collectively, individually, to take data about problems and issues and come up with better solutions. On the flip side is if that information is available and no one is doing something with it, or we're making the wrong decisions as government, or we placing resources where it's not supposed to be going to, that is where the accountability dimension kicks in. And so an ordinary citizen can also look at that data, look at, say, what is said about data and say, but it doesn't relate to my well-being or how my quality of life is being improved by the government.
You've just had a conference on open data. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, we had a conference called Buntwane, which is the second year that we've hosted it. The first event was in Kenya, now it's South Africa, and we'll take it to other parts of Africa, where the whole conversation is to look at technology and innovation and how that is improving governance or getting to a state of better and open government, in which, once again, the issue of open data is a specific component of that equation, in the same way that we talk about open government. With more information at our disposal, it's better to keep people accountable, to increase transparency, etc. So what we did over in this week, over 2 days, is to bring together 80 experts from around the world.
That's a huge number.
From every continent, to reflect on their experiences. Where are the bottlenecks? Is it simply a question that there's not enough data, or the data is available, the technology is available, but there's a disconnect in terms of finding solutions to the problems that we are confronted with? Are we working in silos? Are we not sharing experiences with one another? Is many of these initiatives donor-driven, or is it really developed with a very specific or a set of objectives in mind to come up with better solutions, etc. So there are many challenges also in this discussion. So if you think about open data as, say, a term or terminology in kind of public use on a day-to-day basis, it's still in its infancy, maybe in academia, maybe in the tech community, in a small component in the government circles, maybe we are referencing open data. So the full meaning, the full understanding of open data, the meaning and the potential contribution of open data. So there's a lot of work to be done in breaking down the understanding or creating better understanding, breaking down the silos, and collectively start looking at, say, how we can learn from one another.
And now, David, you spoke about your experts. You said it's over 80.
Yeah.
Are these experts from all over the world?
Yeah, from all over the world, from a cost spectrum of government representatives, people from the research community, from the funding community, activists, people from civil society, people working in public policy. So it's a diverse set of experiences, but there's a common theme across those areas of interest.
Let's talk about those commonalities in terms of what was coming out. Did you find that your experts, let's say from Europe, for example, were giving you the same information as your experts from, let's say, East Africa, for example?
Yes and no. I think there are similar bottlenecks in terms of, say, government responsiveness to these issues, understanding the full potential. Do we have enough champions on the inside of government in all its spheres to be driving and pushing for a better approach or an informed approach to open data? Outside of government, there's no shortage of thought leaders about why governments should be more open, why they should be using open data and be promoters of open data. So on that level, I think the experience is fairly universal. Obviously, in environments, if you take the technology angle, there are certain environments where maybe access to technology and access to information is just as a starting point better developed than maybe, say, in some places in Africa. So in that sense, the experience is slightly different, but at the same time, there's lessons to learn from that. Do we have to take the same time to get to a point, or can we fast-track it if we are more proactive right now?
All right, David Barnard from TechSoup Global, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight and joining us for this discussion.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, this week we caught up with saxophone player and vocalist Femi Kuti to find out what his favorite piece of technology is.
My name is Femi Kuti. I'm a jazz musician, I'm a saxophonist and a vocalist. My favorite gadget is the iPod because it helps me to put my music together and all the time listening to my music. It just helps me, get music from all over the world, and I hear any kind of music that I want to listen to at any point in time. Well, favorite artist, it's still Femi Kuti, and of course I listen to all other African musicians like Manu Dibango, Angelique Kidjo.
Africa's tech scene is constantly coming up with innovative ways to answer some of the continent's problems.
We source content from social media, from our mobile apps, from our website.
And as people move from phone calls to data, companies have to switch what they offer.
People expect to get higher speeds, better quality broadband for less.
On Network, we have information on Africa's technology and social media scene. That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central African Time, only on SABC News. Welcome back. Next, we take a trip into the digital world of mapping. This as fierce car makers are on the road to secure Nokia's mapping business. But this isn't a smooth ride.
Fierce rivals turned business partners as Germany's big three car makers joined forces to buy Nokia's mapping business here. BMW, Audi, Daimler's Mercedes will pay equal stakes totaling 2.5 billion euros. The move seen as a bid to keep HERE from falling into the hands of high-tech digital rivals. Alistair McCaig of IG thinks it is a natural progression to directly invest for car makers already heavily dependent on Nokia.
The fact that we've got the three big automakers deciding to invest directly is maybe no real surprise. It also enables them to take a step away from the reliance that they've previously had in a number of other areas as far as Google Maps is concerned, something that they're sat a little bit uncomfortably with, a number of them.
HERE is already a leading top supplier of digital maps for most of the world's top car makers, some of whom may be unhappy about the new ownership. The three premium car manufacturers hope HERE's technology will allow them to offer new features, including autonomous driving. Intelligent mapping systems linked to wireless networks can recalculate routes to go via any locations, weave around traffic jams, and get speed limit warnings. The deal may shake up the pecking order between car makers. Their parts suppliers and software rivals include Uber, Google, Waze, and Apple. While Nokia is shedding the map business to focus on its merger with Alcatel-Lucent, the deal is expectedly to close in early 2016.
Here's what some people have been sharing in social media. People on Twitter have been attacking Metro FM presenter Nettie Singana after she got into an argument with a listener on Twitter over her Stellenbosch University comments. They've started the hashtag #UnatiBeLike. This has been negatively sharing how they think the TV and radio presenters' views would be on many issues. Ex-Cape Town beat Wits University 1-0 today. That's 2-1 on aggregate. They're now in the MTN 8 final. Their opponents will be Kaizer Chiefs. Their match was on Saturday. And that's all we have for you. Remember to find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with one of those videos that remind us how addictive social media interaction can be. It's by French DJ Stromae. From me and the rest of the Network team, have a good one.
L'amour est comme l'oiseau de Twitter. On est bleu de lui seulement pour 48 heures. D'abord on s'affilie, ensuite on se follow, on en devient fêlé. et on finit solo. Prends garde à toi. Et à tous ceux qui vous like, les sourires en plastique sont souvent des coups d'hashtag. Prends garde à toi. Ah les amis, les potes ou les followers, vous faites erreur, vous avez juste la cote. Prends garde à toi. Si tu t'aimes, garde à moi. Si je m'aime, garde à nous. Garde à eux, garde à vous. Et puis chacun pour soi. Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'aime, 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 s'aime. Comme ça qu'on somme, 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 somme. Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'aime, 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 s'aime. Comme ça qu'on somme, 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 somme. Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'aime, 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 s'aime. Comme ça qu'on somme, 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 somme. Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'aime, 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 s'aime. Comme ça qu'on somme, 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 somme. Et c'est comme ça qu'on s'aime, 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 s'aime. Comme ça qu'on somme, 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 somme. Un jour t'achètes, un jour tu aimes, un jour tu jettes, mais un jour tu payes, un jour tu verras, on s'aimera, mais avant on crèvera tous comme des rats.